Hey everyone, it's Jay here. Now I'm making this video because I think that there's a big problem with people's perception of designing in the browser. People think it's slow and it's difficult to experiment doing it this way. But I think it's more that the way most people design in the browser is slow and difficult, but not the way that I design in the browser. So I'm just going to get straight to it and cover how to design in the browser incredibly quickly. So I'm going to do it in Chrome. But bear in mind that Edge is also based on Chromium, so I'd imagine it will be a similar process there. So all you need to do is, if you're on a local version of your site, which I am here, you right-click, inspect, and the first thing you'll notice is if I right-click and inspect on anything on the page, it will show you where this is coming from. So in this example, lots of these styles are coming from my core dev CSS file. Now what most people would do is, I don't know, maybe change the color here to red and see how it looks, and then try and copy this CSS back into a text editor. But I don't do that. I think that's really slow and really awkward. Instead, what I do is I map anything I change here in DevTools to my local disk. And the way to do this, which I'm convinced almost no one knows about, is, let me refresh the page, get rid of that. That's a good point actually while I'm here. If you refresh the page after you've changed anything, you'll lose those changes, but not with the way we're going to do it. What you need to do is you need to press Shift and then the question mark key, which effectively is typing question mark. And then we're going to go to Workspace. And this is the big secret as to how you can automatically map things. So I'm going to go Add Folder here. So what I've done is I've gone into the folder of my site and then go Public. And I'm going to map the entire CSS folder. So any CSS file on the page will automatically be recognized as associated with this folder on my disk. So I've said select here and allow. You can actually select your entire site because you can see that here DevTools will try and ignore all these different file types. But my CSS is only in this folder, so why not try and make it a tiny bit faster? So that's it. Now that I've done that, what will happen is you can see all these green lights amongst the DevTools file, and the green light means that it's mapped. So a good example will be that I might have a different file of CSS on here somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, you can see I've got an editorial file. This is automatically mapped as well because it's in the CSS folder. And what this means is if I make any change to this, let me just put this to the side and type color red, and then you can see there's this little star up here which means that it's not saved yet. But if I refresh this page, you can see I haven't lost this change. It remembers that we're still mapped there, so I haven't saved it here yet, but it still knows that it's a change that will need to be saved at some point. So I can just press save now, and that is saved. So if I go to my source tree, you can see that this is indeed changed. This has been mapped to the disk. So the first advantage of this is that we can inspect anything here and just go straight to where it is in our CSS file and change it directly there. We don't need to remember the line number. So typically you might see, oh, this is on line 296. We need to find 296 in Sublime Text or VS Code. You don't have to do that. And the second advantage, and this is really the key thing for me for designing in the browser, is that as soon as you change anything here, it gets updated live. So I can, say purple, and I'm not even hitting save here. It just updates in the background. So I can really quickly play with values, see how they look. Without hitting save and then refreshing, it just does it live. So again, if I close DevTools and reopen them, you can see it's still mapped. This is persistent. So if I go to Workspace, it's still there. And if I restart Chrome, it'll be the same. So you kind of need to do this once for each site. And again, it's really easy. You just go Shift question mark, Workspace, Add Folder, and select whatever project you're in. So it's really, really quick when you know how to get this workflow going. And it gives you some immediate advantages when it comes to designing in the browser. There are some other things that are comparable to text editors, which was maybe not here when you last looked at this, and that is the fact that we've got autocomplete here now. So for example, if I type, let's say display, you can see it's auto-completing this already. I just hit tab, and then as soon as I add a colon, you can see that there's all the different autocomplete methods here. So I don't need to remember what different display methods there are. I can just choose them from here. So that's one advantage. The other advantage is that it remembers all the variables. So if you use CSS custom variables, highly recommend you do if you're designing in the browser. Then if I go color, and then I just type var and then --color, and you can see here that, well, in my editorial file, I'm only using 2 different colors. But for example, if I go to my core file, which has all the variables up top, I can go color, var color, and then you can see all the different colors I have available here. So it's comparable to VS Code or Sublime Text that way, in that it's smart enough to autocomplete values. Also, you have a lot of the keyboard shortcuts that you have available in IDEs. For example, if I hit, I think it's Command P, I might have changed it, but you can sort of search for different files. So it shows my last one here, which was the editorial CSS file. But maybe I know I've got one called blog, so I can search for blog and just hit enter to open this up. So in the same way, it's aware of what else is in the folder that you've mapped it to. Another thing I find useful, which you may have noticed while I was recording this, you can actually have the diff, the differential between the last sort of time you edited things. So for example, in the gutter here, you can see it's pink, which means that I've modified this line since there was no white space there before. So if I remove that, that goes. It's now saying I've deleted that line. Or, if you add new lines, you can see this is green. So you've got remove, change, and add, which makes it really easy when you're flicking through your CSS file to find something that you're currently working on, you're currently changing. And there's a similar feature like this in different code editors. To enable this, what you need to do is, if I go to the elements pane and then hit plus and question mark again to bring up the preferences, and then it is in experiments and then source diff. I find this pretty useful. Just while I'm here, they've got this shortcuts panel here which will show you how to do things. Another recommendation I have is to disable the cache while DevTools is open. I find sometimes it aggressively caches things, and just ticking this make sure that doesn't happen. So to summarize, I think there are lots of inherent advantages to design in the browser. In the next video, I'll show you how to make this even faster, how to turbocharge designing in the browser, which makes experimenting a little bit easier. Thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something.